very important and popular maxim we usually say, and in exams, in every exam, not only CMA Inter, in CS, CMA, CAL, LLB, everywhere they ask this one. Like, what is this? What is the meaning of this maxim? Now, nemo that cured non-habet is a Latin term. This is a Latin term, which actually means the person means sale by non-owners actually. Okay, that means what you don't have or what is not yours, you cannot sell that property or asset. Okay, for example, think you are staying with your family in your house. Now this house is your father's, okay, in the name of your father. Now you cannot sell this house without the consent of your father, because the owner of your house is your father. Your father is the owner. You are non-owner. So whatever you don't have, you cannot sell that property. That is the actually meaning of this Latin term, nemo that cured non-habet. That means sale by non-owners is normally void in nature. But you know, every topic, every item, whatever we will read under law is not absolute. That means some exception you will get. Like some situation we will discuss further, like where non-owners also can sell the property. That we will come later. But actually this term means, see, nemo that cui non-habet or cured non-habet means that no one can give what he himself does not have. Non-owner cannot make valid transfer of property in goods, whatever it is. Whatever, if it is not yours, if you are not the owner of that property, you don't have right to sell that property. And if you sell also, such transfer is not valid. Got it? So that is the meaning of this maxim, and this is one of the Latin term. So this meaning is this one. But there are certain times are there, certain cases we will discuss, their goods are sold by non-owners. That we will come later. After this slide, we will discuss what are the exceptions where non-owners also can sell it. But think like you are the seller and another one is buyer. Now think this house is actually, or some property is actually belongs to Mr. A. But Mr. A is going to sell Mr. A's property to Mr. B, and also without consent of Mr. A. So actually these things are not correct, because the property belongs to Mr. A. So Mr. A should agree with this sale procedure, or Mr. A should give the consent that, okay, A also agrees to sell his property. Without consent of Mr. A, other person or third party cannot sell his property to some other party. This is not correct. Now, if without knowledge, if buyer also buy this property, for example, like he don't have that idea, like who is the owner or who not. Now, A is explained in such a way that B is feeling like that house, the property's owner is Mr. A's only. In such cases, what happened afterwards, the buyer will face, you will say like breach. He will face like, no, he has entered into a wrong contract, or Mr. Ace has done some breach of contract, because Mr. Ace is not the owner. So in future, Mr. B will simply involve himself in some disputes related things. So to protect these people, like to protect the buyer, this innocent buyer, certain exceptions also are there in this Sales of Goods Act for this maxim, nemo that cured non-habet. Okay, so this is the thing. So let us see. Normally, the person who is not the owner, that person cannot sell others' property to some other person. So non-owners cannot sell the goods. If they sell, then such sale is void in nature. But yes, everything is having exceptions. So here is also having some exceptions where non-owners can sell the goods. First exception is consent of the owner. So with the consent of the owner, non-owners can sell the goods. Maybe this non-owner is agent, or non-owners is the son of the main owner. Maybe. So maybe the main owner is very old. He cannot involve himself all this legal procedure or all these legal work. So these people, representatives, with the consent of the owner, they can sell to the buyer. That is not invalid. This is one of the exception. So with the consent of the owner, non-owner can sell the goods. This is first exception. Second is transfer of title by estoppel. Estoppel is one of the important term in law, which means I'm telling you one example. Okay, for example, think your grandfather is bedridden, like he cannot do any work and he is completely sick. Got it? Now the house where you all live, that is actually belongs to your grandfather. That means in the papers, the owner name is, your grandfather's name is written. Got it? Now under him, for example, your father is there, your uncle is there. Under them, you people are there, grandchildren are there. Now in this situation, if grandfathers give consent to his sons that please conduct or arrange to sell my property, and if gives the authorization later to his son, okay, to sell his property to some other person. Now whatever proceedings will be done by your father, your uncle, but they are actually not the owner. Got it? Now, for example, whenever your father, your uncle is going to be conducted all these sales proceedings with the buyer, after some time, the buyer will also be convinced, like they may feel like your father and uncle is only the owner of your property. Got it? Because your father or your owner, the non-owners, are involving themselves in so much in the sale of property that other third person or outsiders are convinced to believe that they are only the owners. But actually grandfather has said like, yes, you are all, do whatever you feel like, but sell my property. But actually in papers, the name is different. The grandfather's name is there. Now the children or the sons are doing the sale proceedings with the consent of the grandfather. So here what happened, though the father and uncle is doing all this work with the authorization letter, this is known as title by estoppel. They got the title by estoppel. This is the meaning of estoppel in law. So many where you will get this term estoppel. So if such estoppel is there, you can blindly feel like the person who is doing the work, he is first of all not the owner, first of all, but consent of the main owner is there, and also consent is there in writing. Got it? Or maybe authorization letter is also there. So the main owner transferred the title to those people, non-owners, by estoppel. That is known as estoppels. Any confusion? You can write all these things, whatever I'm telling, small things.
And does it need to be legal or like legal daughter or son only? It has to be there, or some other person?
No. Anything, anyone can be there. Like for example, like not only legal. For example, you don't have any children. Means this one person is there. He is very old and he don't have any children. So he has given the authorization letter to his caretaker that please do all this work on behalf of me. I am giving you the authorization letter. You have heard now power of attorney and all. So I am giving a third person everything because I am sick, I am bedridden. I cannot involve myself in all these legal proceedings and all this procedure. So you got complete consent from me to act as a owner. Got it? But actually you are not the owner. This type of situation is known as estoppel.
Okay.
Got it? So any person can act as a owner with the consent of owner, but actually he is not the owner. That is known as estoppel. Clear? So this type of situation is also exception, like if the person who is the owner is sick or not well, like that. Next is sale by mercantile agent. Some sort, you know what is mercantile agent? He is also a type of agent or a mediator or a broker, you can say. Like if there is a two party, seller and buyer, and if they are very busy, they cannot, they are doing direct transactions, but they are very busy to do all these legal proceedings, or they can't involve themselves in this legal work. So what will happen? Any one of them will appoint one broker or agent, you can say, to work on behalf of these two parties. So he is going to sell his property to this buyer, and he is going to transfer his money to the seller. So everything he will do on behalf of them, and the person who appoints him, he is going to give the commission or money to this person. So he is only the mercantile agent. Got it? So now mercantile agent can be appointed by seller or buyer. So the person who will appoint, that person will become the principal of such mercantile agent. So same concept like normal agent. Got it? So if you are giving your work, or if you are delegating your work to a agent, a mediator or a broker, then this is also an exception, because mercantile agent is not a owner of the property, but still he can transfer the property of seller to the buyer because he got appointed for this work. This is also one more exception. Next is sell by co-owner. Like if there are joint owner, A and B are the joint owner of one property. Now think A stays outside India, he stays in USA, and B in India. Now obviously, without, means in his absence, B can sell this property with the consent of this Mr. A who is staying in USA. So with the consent of other co-owner, another co-owner can sell the property. Got it? So that is also, and whatever the other co-owner will do in good faith. Without consent of co-owner, you cannot sell it. There are A and B. B cannot sell this property like of himself without informing A. By taking his authorization, or by discussing with other co-owner or joint owner, he can sell it without him itself in his absence. So sale by co-owner or joint owner, any one of them if present, with the consent of other owner, they can proceed. This is also one of the exceptions. Next is sale by person in possession under voidable contract. Do you remember what is voidable contract? Anyone? Pritha, Akshay, Aditya, anyone? Hmm?
Void we remember.
Void we remember. Void means invalid. Voidable means for the time being it is invalid, but it can be rectifiable in future. I hope I have given one example of a marriage, Hindu marriage, and Mohammedan, a Muslim boy means Muslim boy engaged with a Hindu girl. As per Mohammedan Act, I have given one example. Na? Like in Mohammedan Act, it is written like if a Muslim guy wants to marry a Hindu girl, first that girl needs to convert into Islam, then only the marriage will become valid, otherwise not. Now, without conversion, if you marry, then for the time being, we can call it is invalid. Once the girl convert into Islam, immediately the marriage will become valid. So, like whatever you are doing, for the time being, if it is invalid in nature, but it is not void, but It is rectifiable in future. If you rectify it, then it may become valid. Such situation will be known as voidable contract. Got it? So if you have entered into a contract, for example, if you have entered into a contract and such contract is a voidable contract. If it is voidable contract, that means what happened? This contract can become valid. That means for the time being it is invalid. Some mistakes are there. If you clarify those mistakes, if you rectify those mistakes, once it is rectifiable in future. Now in future, if you rectify it, it may become valid. Got it? So if you are holding a contract and that is voidable contract, and if you under voidable contract, if you sell it, so there is a chance that afterwards, if it becomes valid, the sale will also become valid. Got it? Now, this is not a good example, whatever I have given. One good example I would like to give, like this one. For example, think Jack obtains a gold diamond, okay, a gold diamond from John, and that is also fraudulently. That means you can take example like Jack has stolen one gold diamond from John's store, jewelry store, and he sold to Priya. Got it? Now, whenever John realized that this fraud happened, the asset actually was not in the hand of Jack. It already transferred to Priya. So though Priya is an innocent buyer, Priya didn't know who is what happened, what is the background of this gold diamond. Priya only knows that who is his seller. He is having explanation like he bought this gold diamond from Jack, and maybe Jack has also given a fake invoice or false invoice to Priya. So now whenever Priya bought it by paying proper money for this gold diamond to Jack, these sales became valid for Priya. But these things, what happened? Jack stole from this gold diamond. He has stolen from John's store. This time it was actually invalid. But before the actual person, John realized, or means this gold diamond actually transferred to Priya and it became valid. So this is also one of the exception. In such cases, John cannot recover this gold diamond from Priya because Priya bought it and he is having invoice for that. What he can do for this act, John can file a case against Jack if he have any proof, but he cannot recover this gold diamond from Priya. This second portion is completely valid. But yes, John can file a case against Jack and can recover the money of gold diamond from Jack. But John cannot touch Priya. So that's why, though the contract is voidable in nature, this is voidable. Before first contract is voidable because there no proper invoice was there, no proper consideration transferred from buyer to seller. This is completely invalid. But when this voidable became valid, when the Jack already sold it to Priya by taking money, proper money and giving a proper invoice. So second part is totally valid. That's why John cannot touch Priya, but John can sue Jack. Got it? So this is also one of the exceptions that in such cases, gold diamond cannot be recovered in this situation. So that's why if you are holding anything under voidable contract also, so if it is like already the thing is not in your hand, whatever is voidable or invalid in nature, it's not in your hand, you have already transferred to some other person in a legal way, automatically the voidable contract will become valid. Clear? So good example I can give because same example I will explain you in negotiable instrument also. For example, think there is a jewelry shop Aditya bought one earring, gold earring for his girlfriend. Okay. Now he has gifted to his girlfriend in her birthday. Now her girlfriend is very happy. She got a gold jewelry. Now, 1 minute. I'm just explaining here. Okay. Here only I'm explaining. See, you can remember this. Think Aditya, what she did, there is a jewelry shop. For example, think ABC jewelry shop is there. Now, Aditya has stolen one earring, and that is also gold earring from ABC jewelry shop, and gifted to his girlfriend in his birthday. His girlfriend was not aware about the background of this earring. He didn't know that his boyfriend has stole it. He knew it okay. He bought it for her. So she was very happy. Now after some days, police came and knocked her door and asked about that earring. Now what she will tell? She didn't know. She is very innocent. She will tell, I didn't know. I got a gift from Aditya. Now police will catch Aditya. Now girlfriend is having proper explanation about this earring. What is that? He got gift. Though Aditya is not having any explanation, his title will be known as invalid title. He is holding invalid title of earring, but girlfriend is holding valid title. So the second portion is totally valid. Police won't touch his girlfriend. Police will touch Aditya because he can't explain about this earring. Where is invoice? How much he paid? In what mode he paid? No explanation is there with Aditya because he stole it. But yes, girlfriend is having. Either this girl got a gift or he bought it, whatever it is, she should have some explanation about this earring. That's why we called it like Aditya will be sued or can be, means the actual shopkeeper can file a case against Aditya, but not that person who is holding that, means voidable product, that is earring. Got it? So this is one of the example, like this thing, whenever the Aditya did it, it was voidable. But whenever he transferred in the form of gift to his girlfriend, it became valid. Got it? Any confusion now?
No, ma. Nice explanation, ma.
So write it, because this only you can explain here.
Yeah. Nice, ma.
Next is sale by seller in possession after sale. Can you tell me, by applying your logic, when it is possible? That means seller can sell it, first of all, can sell any product or property even after sale. Last day only we have explained. Do you remember about unpaid seller? When the seller is not paid fully, we call those seller as unpaid seller. Got it? So until and unless buyer pay the full amount to this seller, seller can keep the goods in his own custody. Got it? And if still he don't receive the money from the buyer, he can sell those property and he can resell those property, we can say, or goods to other buyer. This happens only with the unpaid seller. That means whenever they don't get money on time from the buyer, okay, Or in such cases, after sale also, like already seller has entered into a contract, but still the seller is unpaid, not paid properly from the fully by the buyer. In such cases, whether being a seller, you are going to transfer the goods, no, na. What you will tell, like you will repeatedly, you are going to ask to the buyer, pay me for the goods, then only I am going to give the delivery. But if you don't receive the money from the buyer, immediately you can resell it. You can choose, means you can select any other buyer and you can resell those goods. That is possible. If you do that also, we can say like your sale is valid. Okay, this is one of the exceptions under this, not means cure non-habit. Got it? Under this Latin words. So this is possible only for unpaid seller. Next is sale by buyer in possession after sale. This is very easy. Whenever seller will transfer the goods proper to the buyer after receiving the full amount. So obviously buyer is getting the ownership. Okay. So ownership will also be transferred from seller to buyer. Now in this, for example, this is the goods. Buyer is the owner of these goods now. Now, whenever the buyer will get the ownership, now buyer can sell these goods to anyone. No harm in it. Got it? So, once the buyer got the product in hand, got the possession of goods, and he got the ownership also, he can sell also after sell. No issue. That is also one of the exceptions under this maxim. This is also there. You can write in other way also, sale by an unpaid seller. Like if a seller is still unpaid, already we discussed, any one you can write or both you can write, still unpaid, and if the goods is with him, he can sell it to other buyer or third party. No harm in it. Got it? Exceptions. Because still the goods is there in the possession of seller and he is unpaid seller. So previous one, to minor difference is there. Here what happened? Already seller entered into a contract of sale. So we are telling even after sale, seller is still unpaid and seller can resell those goods to any other buyer. Okay, or any he can select any other buyer, can resell those goods. And here we are telling before entering into a contract or before means sale also, supposed to means the unpaid, if the seller became unpaid. So finally everything is done, but still he has not been paid fully by the buyer, then also seller can sell those goods to any other buyer. Got it? So whatever it is, he can do so. Next exception is finder of lost goods. For example, you can you found a wallet of someone in auto. Got it? That means you are the finder of these lost goods. The person who left the wallet in the auto, you found that. Got it? Now what you will do? Obviously your responsibility is to give back to that. You have to search that person and you have to give back if you get any number in that wallet, etc., etc. Otherwise you can submit in the nearest police station if you are honest. Got it? Or else, like if it is instead of wallet, if it is a goods, for example, you found a ring, gold ring in road. Suddenly in the morning, you are just doing morning walk and you found a gold ring in the road. Okay, in such cases, you don't know about the owner of that ring. Totally unknown. In such cases, if you sell that ring and take the money, that is not wrong. So, sale by finder of lost goods. If you found any type of lost goods and if you sell it, that is also one of the exceptions under this thing. Like if the goods found are common object normally, such as vegetable, rice, whatever you get suddenly, but you don't know about the actual owner. So if owner is not found anywhere for a reasonable period, you can sell it. If the found goods are perishable in nature, perishable means damaged. It's already damaged goods. Now you can repair it and you can sell it. No harm in it. Now, if you found any goods and if you see the found owner refuses to pay the lawful expenses of the finder. Got it? So like, for example, you have got some damaged goods and you repaired it. So you spend some amount for such repair and maintenance, and whenever you will afterwards, if you found that actual owner and if you asked him to pay that expenses, he refused to pay that. If he refused to pay that expenses, then he is no more owner. You have spent money for that damaged goods, you will be the owner. You can do it. And if the lawful expenses incurred in respect of the goods amount to 2/3 of the real value of the goods. Got it? In such cases also, like whatever actually will get an actual value. And in such cases, for example, you got a ring, its value is 15,000. For example, I'm talking about 15K. Now for repairing or for example, if it got damaged, for repairing, you spent 2/3 of 15K. That means 10,000. Then obviously you pay out of 15K, you have spent 10,000, na? So the goods belongs to you now. No need to find the actual owner. In such cases, you can sell that property and recover the money. Got it? So if you found anything, any goods, and if you don't found the actual owner of the goods, you can sell that property. That is also coming under this maxim. And other cases, this is a special case. Official receiver and liquidator actually comes when a company goes for winding up. That means when company decides to close its business, then they may go for winding up or liquidation. Liquidation means like this is a procedure. They will just liquidate their business. So in such cases, what happened? Now, this liquidation handled by court. So court will appoint one person as a liquidator and he will do all such proceedings as per court's rules, and he is going to close that company. Got it? Now for closing this company, this liquidator can sell the asset of the company and recover the money. If company don't have money or financial condition is very weak, in such cases, whenever the court will appoint one person as liquidator for closing the business of such company, such liquidator can sell the assets of the company and recover the money to close this business actually. So, for example, company don't have money. Now, creditors are there. Lot of loans are there. Outstandings are there. How to pay to these creditors? In such cases, liquidator will sell their assets and will take money and will pay to these creditors. So, in this way, liquidator is going to clear the debt. So, in such cases, if anything is sold by liquidator or official receiver, that means this also appointed by either government or court, that is also coming under this maxim. That is also like they can do it. Actual owner is company, but though at the time of closing, he is no more owner. He don't have money itself. So now to close this company, to pay to its creditors, all these decisions are mandatory. In such cases, whatever liquidator will sell for the company to clear the debt, all are valid. Okay, this is also one of the exceptions. So any confusion? Tell me. This is a very important topic and last topic of company Sales of Goods Act.